thank Tony for the great intro for me to tell you guys what I've done together with introducing PayPass, introducing the Google Wallet, many of the ones that he mentioned. The good news I think I do have to go back, I fly back to California on Friday to help Apple in their current stock challenges. They're going to introduce a card, I think is the best way to fix their problems. So anyways, NXP, just to tell you guys a little bit about, we're involved really in the card industry as a leader in many categories, and really in the area of bringing the card industry into the mobile world. So if you look at the different categories of business that we have, the first is e-government, and that's really securing government documents. So we're the leader in providing the chips in your passports. It's roughly over 100 countries in the world now have chips in their passport, and NXP has roughly 80 to 85% of those chips. As mentioned earlier, banking is a huge product category in putting chip cards into banks. So really switching from magstripe into chip card security. And as Tony mentioned, there really is a significant shift in fraud rates and the ability to protect those transactions. Lastly is in the area of transit, which is a huge category. Our MyFair products, a huge portion of those cities, roughly 75%, also run on MyFair technology. As you switch to devices, the one category that's the area I'm actually responsible for is the introduction of NFC into mobile devices, and also that same security chip to open it as a mobile platform to allow many of these card technologies to take place. Any counterfeit is another category as well, is really in terms of securing that the device or the accessories and things that you have are genuine devices. So the area of any counterfeit is becoming an increasingly large category, not only for XP, but as an overall market. And the last category, which I'll talk a little bit about, is cybersecurity. As we become a more connected world, as the smartphone does genuinely take over, if you look at the numbers in both emerging and in other markets, you'll realize that the mobile device is by far and away the biggest now in terms of internet access, in terms of the way people communicate, their connection to the world. And cybersecurity is becoming a huge topic for many companies. In fact, recently in the US, there was a hack of AP Twitter feed. And that hack of AP Twitter feed actually caused the New York Stock Exchange to drop by 4%, simply because some messages being sent out unauthorized. And immediately, in fact, this morning, Twitter has already announced a new two-factor authentication for key things. So the area of securing that device is becoming increasingly critical as people look to those mediums for communication. So again, what is NXP? We're really around putting trust into these different technologies, whether it be in card or devices. Our legacy is really in the area of security and helping provide these convenient solutions, but while still maintaining the key steps in security. So again, authenticating identities, as we've already mentioned in a couple places, it's critical for many different parts of the of being able to do transactions, to secure that it's the correct device, it's the correct person, you're in the correct location, all of those things. That's a lot of what our technology is doing. We mentioned transactions, and then I think NFC is really the area of convenience. Contactless as well, although PayPass, true, has not been a huge success in terms of the value proposition for contactless. Contactless is a more convenient way to interact with devices. And it's particularly, you can see this in transit, where speed is the biggest, most critical in terms of being able to do things. And NFC is simply the most convenient way for a device to connect with another physical device or the physical world. You can see again where we've come from. If you look at the different technologies in transit, in banking, going from cash to credit card, now to chip card technology, the same in terms of the way we get into our cars. For example, no one thinks of, even though many keys today still have the metal key, I don't know when the last time anybody's actually used that to enter a car, even though it's probably a 2 to 3 second savings. Technology has really changed the way that we interact. As we look at it now, the numbers are staggering. You don't realize how many different items you actually have chips or smart technology already in them today to help secure you and the businesses that you're interacting with. Some of the key drivers for that, as I mentioned already, passports. I think passports the first key technology. You've seen the German government has issued an ID card. Most recently, Indonesia has launched their passport with electronic. So you're really starting to see governments understand the value of being able to digitize these documents. And in some of our reports that we look at, we talk about mobile and NFC and all these exciting new markets in the smartphone. This is perhaps one of the largest markets around. If you think of all the different government documents you have, the value to digitize those documents makes that actually one of the best startup markets probably in the world. The whole trend to urbanization is another area where you're going to see increasingly connected cities. And that's not only for, as public transit really goes in, but also a real move to the cities that you're going to be seeing in our populations that we've already seen today. And as I mentioned, the ability to move people and goods and transit in these increasingly crowded cities and increasingly connected both provides benefits, like I said, in terms of the way of efficiency and also in terms of security and convenience. As an example, there's 1.2 billion people every day have access to a contactless transit system in the world today. So just to give you some idea of the scale. We mentioned already bank cards. There's a huge shift from 2001, and you can see just the numbers since 2011. The two major markets that you'll see this year and in the coming years to 2015 will be China and the US. China from the pure growth of bank cards in general, but also a shift to contactless and to chip cards. As well in the US, there'll be a shift from magstripe to EMVCo standards, and that will take place by 2015, 2016. So there's still huge market growth expected from the area of chip cards. As we mentioned already, just in terms of connected devices, it is one of the few industries where you've really seen a genuine hockey curve this last year in terms of the growth of NFC devices and NFC or mobile devices, as well as mobile devices with a security chip as part of them. Already mentioned the Galaxy 3, the Galaxy 4 as an example, the HTC One. All these devices, including the Sony Xperia, all have standard NFC as a default in there. And that's driving also the growth of other devices such as PCs, tablets. We've seen the largest growth in those as well. And again, as mentioned, it's more than just around payments. It's the ability for these devices to securely interconnect with the rest of the digital world. There. I guess one of the last ones, because this is the last slide, so I believe it is anyway. Just to give you some idea of really thinking, if you can, of NFC and the security chip more as a platform. It becomes a platform for lots of different ways that people can interact. As mentioned, the two key retailers who obviously very familiar growing up in the US with both Starbucks and McDonald's, it's their ability and the ability for those entities to start to look at as the mobile device becomes really a powerful tool for them of taking the consumer's device and how is it that they interact with me in my store? How is it that they interact with me and my brand? Again, leveraging a mobile device allows you in that store to do so many different things with them, and it's more than just the payment. In fact, I think if it was just payment, I don't think these technologies would really be in a mobile device. I think it's because of all the other ways that I can interact as a consumer with the physical world and that I can interact with these brands and these retailers. So again, just to hopefully give you a better idea of the value, I think, of both convenience, which NFC provides, as well as the security side. The last one I want to leave you with, and it goes back to the earlier comment about Twitter, this whole area of cybersecurity, I think it will become, because it is so closely connected with us shifting to a mobile world. And as mentioned already, the whole area of feature phones and basic phones is really a market that's starting to dwindle because you're starting to see from manufacturers smartphones go down in price and really reach a much wider population. And what's important about that is that these consumers that are going to be getting these devices have not only access to voice, but they're going to have increasingly access to the internet. And their ability to connect with different cybersecurity or services, I think the value of being able to secure that becomes even larger. So This is genuinely the last one, apologize, is really looking at, I think, what's next. And I think that to me, if I can leave you with one parting thing, is that every company and everyone that's been mentioned so far this morning, from mega retailers and brands that you just saw, to companies like Google, to companies like Apple, MasterCard, Visa, as everything starts to shift to a smartphone, and it's not just about pushing technologies that nobody wants, it's about pushing technologies to a device that's becoming increasingly important to consumers. I think everybody's got a risk of, or a challenge to look at these changes as being, is the glass half empty or half full? Does mobile devices and Google entering a market, does that make MasterCard with more opportunities or far less opportunities? And I think that, to me, is the real challenge, is how different companies are going to react to these technologies and these capabilities. And this is where I probably would make the argument a little bit for the first mover, provided you do it right. The opportunity is providing a lot of new greenfield opportunities for companies to take advantage of things. And right now, very much in the area of NFC and in terms of mobile payments, it's very much a wide open area right now. So that was it. Thank you very much.